being rough.
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. I deeply desire to expand, to experience, to know, to understand, to control, to use such greater energies and energy systems as may be beneficial and constructive to me and to those who follow me. I deeply desire the help and cooperation, the assistance, the understanding of those individuals whose wisdom, development, and experience are equal to or greater than my own. I ask their guidance and protection from any influence or any source that might provide me with less than my stated desires.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about God. I seek that which has been made hidden. As a part of a family of explorers of consciousness, I'm the void one.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting live from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void Live here on Fringe FM and Lighting the Void Live YouTube. It is October the 9th on a Thursday, and it is World Post Day and World Leif Erikson Day. I don't even know what that means. So celebrate the power of the mail today and celebrate your Nordic heritage, I guess. So we're going to get back into far journeys. we're coming to the end of this journey. It's getting close. We're more than halfway through this freaking text already, and it's been a good one. It's been a long one, but we're getting ready for the Halloween special. I've got some new promos to play for that, and you might hear them during the break. So the breaks have commercials. The breaks have public service announcements and station IDs and all that stuff. But that's radio for you. Also, in the Discord live production room, I have Flying Bryce and the Wolf. By the way, you got to give the Wolf credit. Not saying Bryce, you get plenty of credit. Not taking anything away from Flying Bryce, but Wolf is always he's over across the pond. So, what time is it now over there? Is it like 4 a.m, 3 a.m, midnight? What time is it, Wolf? Is Wolf there, or did he disappear? I can't hear him.
Man, I think he's muted. I think he's muted.
I think Wolf muted. Yeah. Well, I just want to give him credit for like having to, hang out with us this late. He stays up with us too after the show too.
3:15.
3:15. So by the time we get on the show, it'll be like 5 something, right? 5 a.m. Yeah. Man, I'm a late nighter myself, but damn, Wolf, you're the OG late nighter. Says the live chat and number of viewers can't see something. I don't know. Anyways, we're going to jump right into it. This one's called Turning Inward. And remember, we left off last night. It was pretty weird because he was helping dead people last night. Dead people, like, cross over. And here's the weird thing that he couldn't figure out. He couldn't figure out why the dead people were disappearing. So he would help them. He'd find them. They didn't know they were dead. He'd let them know that they were dead. They were always caught up in either their own pain, their house, or a sex act or something. But either way, one guy actually was in the middle of a police fight or something. He got shot by the clerk or something like that. But anyways, he'd convince them that they were dead, grab them by the hand, and start flying into what he calls the belief systems and the realms of consciousness that are outside of our human existence. And then at some point, they would just disappear. And I don't think we ever got answers as to why that was, Yeah. Sudi says you're a vampire, Wolf.
That's it.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. As long as you're a good vampire, right?
Creature of the night.
That's right. So, if an impasse is reached, it seems likely that somewhere on the way a distortion or misconception has taken place. A sign along the road was missed or misunderstood. The wrong turn was taken. There are many possibilities. Perhaps some small detail was left unnoticed. This is how it happened. I still had the help signals, the learn by being lessons, but all without satisfactory explanation. The retrieval of those who had just died and my susceptibility to their signals, and especially to my own in the past, insisted on my attention. Was this to be my new direction? Maybe. I felt that I had lost control. Some part of me that I wasn't aware of had taken over, and I certainly didn't understand it. I decided that the far reaches of infinity would have to wait. The prime need was to know myself without equivocation. The more I came to know myself, the more I would know what I am in non-physical expression, and the closer I would come to the reason for the path I seemed to be taking. Experience is definitely the greatest of teachers. And now my experience came into constructive use again, with my left brain abilities in the foreground. The route or access to the non-physical I, what I now thought of as the I there, surfaced almost immediately. It had started over 20 years ago, and frustrated over my seeming lack of ability to explore more than just the time-space continuum, I had turned inward and asked for help. And from that moment, an entirely new spectrum of being and doing emerged. I was free. And through all the succeeding years, I went happily on my way. I had not realized that in spite of my apparent ego, the I there of me had been doing the driving and navigating since that point. Never once had I taken the trouble to look under the hood, as normal curiosity should have led me to do. But now, in pursuit of the missing basic, instead of following the usual steps after phasing out of body, I put a hold on all that urgent signals and began a probe around me, inward instead of out. And many such sessions, spaced over a year, were involved to get the information into workable form. This is what I found. The move out of physical phase and into my I there was slow and careful. I formed the impression of an all-powerful, all-knowing giant who watched bemused as one of his fingers began an independent, self-willed exploration of the rest of his body. I felt no fear because of the known I was I there, and I there was I. So can one be afraid of oneself? The memory layer. Turning inward and penetrating the I there of me, I immediately encountered the expected, a layer or file, a library or mainframe containing every moment of my life to date, with more pouring in that matched exactly my thoughts and actions as I conducted the investigation. Other signals were still coming in from my physical body, but this was far more than memory, as we consciously think of it. This was the reception point of the uplink from the present I here, the I that functions in the physical world, now only an operating physical body without consciousness. I tested the storage system several times with great fascination, and upon selection of a given point in the past, I relived the event in every detail, down to each minute sensory input, thought, and emotion. I soon realized such supermemory was not altogether pleasurable. With such intense hindsight, one becomes all too painfully and sadly aware of the many irrational decisions made, the stupid mistakes, the missed opportunities. The exciting incidents were no longer exciting because I knew the outcome. The joyous moments often seemed infantile and the infantile sad and amusing. As an example, I had a very young memory of hiding under a big bush just outside my grandmother's front porch. Afterward, I could never understand why I had been hiding there. I wasn't afraid, but something kept me there. Now I knew. I had feces in my pants, and I didn't want Mommy to find out. A big moment for a 4-year-old. And more relevant and revealing items were easy to find, among them incidents that, in their ways, were early precursors easily overlooked. One such occurred in 1934 when I flunked out of Ohio State University in my sophomore year with a less than 2.5 grade average. This was partly due to a severe facial burn, which meant spending some time in the hospital. And after I recovered, feeling restless, I hit the road looking for work. I began hitchhiking, but after about a week, I discovered that people wouldn't pick up a dirty-looking kid, so I became a hobo, riding freight trains from place to place. Can you imagine Robert Monroe as a hobo? In St. Louis during mid-December, the cook in a small hash joint saw me staring through the steamy window at the food frying on the grill. He waved me in and fed me without charge. As I hadn't eaten for 2 days, it seemed a miracle. Then later that night, in a Salvation Army-type flophouse, an old man died quietly on the cot next to mine. I'd never been that close to someone dying. I felt no fear, but curiosity. And after nearly a year, I returned to Ohio State in Columbus, pleaded, and was granted conditional reinstatement. During my junior year, Strollers, the campus dramatic society, offered a prize for the best original one-act play. The one I wrote received second prize. The first 3 were produced and presented to a campus audience. And perhaps the peak moment in my college career came as I stood off stage in the wings as some 500 people sat in a you could have a herd a pin drop state during the climax of my one-act drama. The reviewer said it should have placed first. The play was based on exactly what happened in the flophouse, except for the addition of the climatic moment. What was it? In dying, the old man passed to the boy a special purpose, a goal, a plan far beyond ordinary human thought, and the boy was transformed into something or someone else. This came from an 18-year-old who had never taken a course in philosophy and was not religious, as were none of his friends at the time. So where did he get the idea and why? This incident had evidently been long hidden as not important. It took place at least 20 years before there was any such occurrence as an out-of-body experience in my life. Likewise, relegated into the same category of non-importance was another long hidden memory that perhaps I had earlier regarded as some sort of hallucination. The location of this was an old farmhouse we owned in Dutchess County, New York, during the late 40s. The well had run dry, and it was not the new type of drilled well, but one that had been hand-dug 100 years ago or more. It was about 3 feet wide, 70 feet deep, and lined with round field stones wedged together with mortar. Listening, one could hear water running far below, but the pump couldn't bring it up through the pipe, and usually one doesn't hear running water in a well. My curiosity was caught, so I got a rope out of the barn, tied it to a nearby tree, and skittered down inside the well like a mountain climber rappelling down a cliff. When I reached the bottom, I immediately found the problem. The water table had lowered. The end of the pipe was above the new water level. The interesting part was that there at the bottom was not still water, but a running underground stream. And if a few rocks were put in the right place, the water level would rise again. Then I looked up and panic set in. Far above me was a tiny circle of light, and between me and that point of safety were 70 feet of loose rocks, any chunk of which I might have disturbed in climbing down. At any moment, that chunk could drop away and trigger the entire wall to collapse on top of me. There was evidence of the possibility on the rocky bottom on which I stood. Several large basketball-sized rocks lay there, having fallen from the wall sometimes previous. That's got to be a pretty damn scary feeling, right? He got his butt down there, though. A feeling of intense claustrophobia came over me with some justification. If I could not get out quickly, I might well be buried in a 70-foot grave, and no one would know. With an effort, I sought to control my panic. I knew I would have to be ultra careful in climbing up to avoid dislodging any of the rock wall. I sat down on a large fallen rock to think about it, and reaching down with my cupped hand, I took some mouthfuls of the running water. It was cool and fresh. And as I sat at the bottom of the well, listening to the gentle tumbling of the water, my eyes adapting to the dim light, I began to relax. There was something very calm and serene and comfortable about being where I was. I even looked up at the circle of light far above me, and the sense of peace was not disturbed. I felt no more panic. I closed my eyes and leaned comfortably back against the rocky wall of the well. There was no need to hurry now. I relaxed even more, and for a moment I thought I was asleep, but I could hear the water and feel the stone against my back. My physical awareness was still complete. Then the pattern changed. Slowly, the feeling of a warm intelligence seemed to surround me, flowing very gently into my body. It seemed to blend into every part of me, body and mind. I became a part of that intelligence, or the intelligence became a part of me. There didn't seem to be any difference, and there was a message. I could translate it into words, but only crudely. And it goes like this. My son of sons, you have found joy and my winds and sky. We have shared the excitement and peace both on my waters and deep within them. You have revealed in the beauty and ingenuity of my other children spread across my surface. Yet it is only now that you have taken a moment in my bosom to be still and listen. In that stillness, hold this song forevermore. You were born of me, yet it is your destiny to become more than I can ever be. In this growth, I revel with you. My strength is your strength. Thus you take with you the glory of me to express in ways that I will not understand. Not understanding, I nonetheless support and share happily that which you become. Go with this truth within you, my son of sons of sons. That was it. The warmth continued for a while, then slowly faded. I stood up, took the dangling rope, and climbed effortlessly to the top of the well, scrambling out into the sunlight. I was astounded when I discovered I had been in the well for over 2 hours. Now I remember that special basic. Mother Earth, I love you. How could I have forgotten? Further investigation into the memory layer revealed a near-identical dream that had recurred monthly, at least for a number of years. I was at the time an active airplane and glider pilot, and in this dream, I would find myself turning my aircraft onto the end of the runway, applying power, and beginning the takeoff run. As soon as I was airborne, the runway turned into a street with buildings lining it on both sides. Crossing from one side to the other overhead was a network of cables and wires, much like those still found in older downtown business areas. Try as I might, I couldn't find a hole or gap in the network through which the aircraft could fly. And after a period of anxiety and frustration, I would wake up. This dream did not recur once my OBEs began. Some psychologists with whom I discussed this dream suggested that the downtown street setting was a symbol of my commitment to the business world. Others speculated that the network of restrictive wires represented my cultural belief systems. All agreed that it was a well-assembled logical metaphor tailored neatly to meet what I was at the time. Searching again, I found a clue as to what might have been the evoking mechanism or trigger for what happened afterward. My company, seeking a new area for diversification, was investigating whether sound might be used for learning during sleep. As professionals in sound, having produced several hundred network radio programs, we tried a number of different audio patterns with various subjects to study the effect of these patterns upon sleep. Beginning in 1956, I had been the chief subject in this testing and underwent at least 100 sessions lying in a darkened booth and listening through headphones. But my 2 children and many others had also spent many such sessions, yet with no comparable effect. Was this my out-of-body trigger? Thus I passed through the memory layer, knowing that total recall would be available, if and when needed. All the same, reliving the past without the rose-colored glasses of nostalgia is not my idea of a fun afternoon. Would you want to be able to do that, though? Like, if you're going through the layers of yourself, and you find this layer that's called the memory layer, except the only thing about this memory layer is it doesn't come with nostalgia. You can actually contact any memory that you've had in your life, any memory, and you're going to see it and feel it exactly as the way it is, as the way it happened. Would you really want to know? Would you really want to do that? I think I just want to keep the nostalgia, because I got some pretty bad damn memories, and the memories are bad enough,
Yeah, it's the kind of a Akashic record thing where you review your life, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe you could do it, but I don't know.
Yeah, so apparently he's found some kind of way to access that, all the way down to when he was like pooping his pants when he was 4 years old or something. I mean, have you really sat down and thought about that? Like, what's the last memory you can remember, like the earliest one? Because when people say, I remember being born, I have such a freaking hard time believing those people, man. It's almost like my bullshit meter goes off as soon as I hear people say that.
Yeah, that's pretty hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if I really thought about it, I can only remember certain things, like a tricycle, maybe someone strapping my shoes on when I was sitting in some kind of high chair, and that's about the furthest memory I can go back. And I don't even know if that's real,
Yeah.
I can only imagine being born. That's it. I can't remember it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
So the next layer that he went into himself was the fear layer. Moving inward to the next section of my eye there, I found an area I definitely not expected. I discovered that I was indeed far from fearless. I may not have been consciously aware of these fears, but they were there, large, ugly blasts of raw energy, embarrassing to me and to no one else in their intensity. There were old fears and a constant inflow of new ones. They range from little items such as anxiety over the effect of a rainy day on our construction project to big worries about the world changes developing. Even the fear of physical death was there, not of the process and what lay beyond, but of what might be left undone here in time-space. I realized action would have to be taken to clear up this mess, so the I there of me already had a better system at work. The tests I had been undergoing during the past 5 years, where I non-physically experienced an intense event that engendered a familiar fear time and time again until the fear dissipated, were still in place and operating. Moreover, the battle was almost won, and many more fears were being dissolved in the number of new ones which were being generated by my current activity. With this awareness came a major revelation. I there had instituted this process and kept the fear-dissolving operation flowing as needed. No outside source was providing any assistance, as I had wrongly assumed. I was helping myself. Thus the finger became a hand. I preferred the feel of the hand. How this was taking place aroused my curiosity, recognizing that the I there provided me, or the I here, with more than a casual connection. I began to search in my present mind self for the other evidence of ongoing participation by my I there. I don't know why he's saying I there. Why don't he just call it like my higher self, so to speak? Let's just call it my higher self, It was very easy to move deeper, but initially the effect was near disastrous. I learned what I am, and much adjustment was required to become used to the reality of what I am. The next layer is the emotional layer. This was the next inward cloud of energy that I met. I knew all of these emotions, not those that had been repressed, but those past and present that I had lived and treasured, both joyous and sad, and the irrational angers that were now so amusing to me. As with the fears, there was a constant incoming pattern, mimicking what I felt at each moment. The interesting part was that this layer seemed so neatly organized. Yeah, you would think that the emotional layer would be a bit more chaotic. I mean, I would think that, for sure. What's up, Dan? Dan said he'd go back through his memories if he could just go back through the good ones, you know. The broken barrier is the next one. So this was much like a ragged hole in a gray wall. As I attempted to go through this enticing gap, there was a slight resistance, and then I was through. As I penetrated the gap, the texture of the original restraining energy of the wall was absolutely clear to me. I also understood what had happened in my own pattern and what had made that hole. The answer was simple. The answer was simple erosion through repeated experience. And the amusing part was that in my eagerness, I had never paused to notice that very real existence of the barrier. What was the barrier made of? Earth life system addiction and the multitude of belief systems generated therein. And evidently I had once slipped through a crack, either by accident or otherwise, and kept widening the opening by usage, probably through a gathering information and increasing experience, until that part of the barrier crumbled. What the hell is this barrier is he talking about? It's just a broken barrier, I guess. So the next layer is the repertory. So, what am I? Beyond the barrier, there were hundreds and hundreds of what appeared to be waving beams of multicolored light. And certainly I reached out and touched the nearest one. A rich male voice rang in my mind. Well, curiosity pays off again, Robert. I pulled back quickly, but the chuckling stayed with me. Immediately, another bright, glowing beam. I guess that's Mojave in color, came close, and this voice was female. Of course, you're not all male, Bobby. That was only the beginning. The process was repeated again and again, and each time it became easier. Now I realized that every beam of, quote, light was one of me. One of my I-there personalities, complete with a different life experience. Lodged within my I-there was a corresponding life pattern of each personality in great detail. This I, realize, is an inadequate description because each is a conscious sentient being with an individual awareness, mind, and memory. Communication was easy because I was holding forth with myself. However, there was so much that I could only skim the surface. The emotional elements were too strong to go deeper. When I phased over into the I there of me, finding each one required merely the thought of that pattern in my present life activity. Some of them were familiar, and as I knew of them as driving forces in my present life experience. Here are the most salient. All right, so, okay, this is getting a little, I don't know. Like
Wackadoo.
It's getting a little wackadoo for sure, because now he's starting to say, what's up, April? What's up, Dutchie? He's starting to seem like a freaking multi-personality guy, right? So I'm going deep in myself. I passed this stuff. I passed this emotional layer. Now he's got all these personalities that are supposedly him, but in different forms, and I guess the multiverse or whatever, but all I'm saying is it could be a nervous breakdown. That's possible. He could be going through some kind of, what is that called? Dissociative disorder or multiple personality thing. Let's just believe him for the moment, though. We'll see what happens. So here are some of the, I guess, versions of him. One was the architect or the builder. This was in the era of cathedral and castle buildings during the 12th century in England and the continent of Europe. I was dismissed in disgrace when I objected to the appalling cost in lives of worker friends when huge stones fell from crude scaffolds and crushed those on the ground beneath. I refused to comply with the irrational whims of those in power. I immigrated to France where the same sequence took place but with a different ending. Someone in angry authority had me beheaded. This part of me was reflected early in life, before I was 10, in the building of wooden shacks 2 and 3 stories high. Later came the design and construction of theatrical stage sets, and then the design, engineering, and construction, supervision of various buildings in Westchester County, New York, and then in Virginia, which gave me such deep satisfaction. This also explained the deep sadness amounting to physical illness during a recent trip to England and France when we visited various cathedrals and other ancient buildings. The effect was so marked that we cut short our stay in both London and Paris. In my eye there, the details were completely available, but the emotion was much too great for me to go very deep. I tried to learn what my name was at that point, but received only an amused, repeated response. You were you. Man, I've kind of had that happen though. You know, I've went to certain things and just felt like shit. I'm sure we all have though. Unless you ever been to an area or just a point in your life where you're like, this don't feel right? Hell, I seen my son do that one time. I wonder if that is like some kind of past life recall.
There's lots of stories of that, isn't it? And people getting requests, but going into cities they've never been to, countries, and that exact feeling that they lived there before. Yeah.
Robo1776 says, I don't know how I'd handle a voice watching me and asking me questions. I might jokingly snap back with a, hey, motherfucker, stop bothering me. Who knows? Yeah. I was taking my son to Hot Springs one time, and we went and we were just walking down the tourist. I was like Central in Hot Springs, and I took him into the store. He was young too, and it was nothing but like biker stuff because I was into. I've always been into motorcycles, but I was really into it then. And as soon as he looked at the stuff, I seen his face like turn white almost, man. Like he just felt something crazy. And he was like, hey, Dad, can we leave? And I'm like, yeah, why? What's going on? He's like, I just don't feel right. I was like, are you sick? He's like, no, I just want to get out of here. And to this day, like, he never explained to me what that was, you know. So it makes me wonder if he was like a biker in his past life or if something bad happened. Like, who knows, you know. For a time, I could make no sense of this, but an interesting verification came in 1990. During a summer vacation in Europe, my younger brother Emmett and his wife went to Scotland to visit what is known as the Monroe Fields, just north of Inverness. They took photographs of Folius Castle there, returning home without comment to me about the trip as they didn't think I'd be interested. In November, Emmett received a notice from our institute regarding activities for the coming year. In it was a photograph of the tower in the New Eden East Wing of the center. Astonished at what he saw, he made copies of his Monroe Fields pictures and sent them to us. In his Scotland pictures, the distinctive feature of Folius Castle is a tower that matches ours beyond coincidence. Both have 4 stories, are octagonal, and embedded into the side of the main building. They both have the same general dimensions and the same roof pitch, and both even have similar iron fencing at the top, tied into the building roof, although this is not visible in the photographs. I didn't know how of the existence of Folius Castle and its tower. I didn't know of the existence of it, nor had I ever been to Scotland. My brother had never seen or known of the Institute Tower because it had been built since his last visit to Virginia. So who built this Folius Tower? According to Monroe clan history, Donald Monroe and his son Robert in the mid-12th century. So there was some hard data. I was, after all. But it's spelled over there, Monroe is spelled M-U-N-R-O, though. Then the next I there, or I then, was the rebellious priest. This I then was an initiate at some interdeterminate time, interdeterminate time, about to participate in a secret confirmation ritual in the deep recesses of an old stone temple or church. He, or rather I, had eagerly looked forward to this moment without knowing the procedure, as it meant wide acceptance and advancement within the culture. And he's got pictures of the tower here I got to skip. The ritual began with the priest forming a circle around a flat stone altar, chanting in droning tones. A frightened young girl was brought in, stripped of her clothing, and tied spread eagle on top of the altar. Although shocked, I then could not help becoming sexually aroused. The high priest mentioned I then to move in and possess the girl. I stepped dutifully forward, stood beside the girl, and staring down at her fear-stricken face was caught by something in the depth of her eyes. After a long moment, I turned away, looked at the high priest, and shook my head in refusal. Immediately, there was a bright flash of white light, and the life of this I then ended. Holy crap. Hey, do you remember when he was talking about that in the previous books?
Yeah.
So before he had a knife or something like that, and it was kind of the same thing. And then when he refused, like in the previous books, when he refused to do, like, I think he was supposed to stab the girl then or something. When he refused to do that, all this like white rays of light came through the top of the tower. Now this memory, he's saying that it was just a flash of white light and his life ended. You know what that means? They killed his ass because he wouldn't do what he was,
Yeah, because in the first story, he said he knew it was going to be something like that by refusing it.
Yeah. That's so trippy, man. In my present lifetime, this fits nearly into my repugnance for any man who forcibly performs a sexual act with any but a totally willing female. I'd always presumed from previous imitations that this particular I then was executed for refusing to follow orders. But the I there inventory had a different approach. The temptation was a test. If I then had tried to rape the girl, he would have been stopped and thrown out of the priesthood. But in refusing, he passed the test and was welcomed into the elect. The bright light was a symbol of his conversion into a new life. Who was the girl? My wife, Nancy, maybe. Prior to this disclosure, she remembered a past where, as members of a religious sect, she had been a nun and I a priest, where all we had was intense eye contact. I'm confused, though. So what's the flash of white light and then he died thing, though?
Maybe he didn't die then, by the sounds of it. It was a kind of enlightenment. And he passed
okay.
the test.
You're right, because it says immediately there was a bright flash of white light and the life of this I then ended. But it doesn't say he died, I guess, but... Okay, well... Anyways, another one as an aircraft pilot. The time, location, and species are unknown, but this I then was a member of a very close-knit family or tribe numbering several thousand, whose base of operations or home was in the side of a huge cliff. There was a landing or takeoff pad just inside a large cave-like entrance, and small one-person aircraft were the only means of transportation. The aircraft had short wings and were powered by means not translatable. The pilot lay in a prone position with head slightly raised, forehead resting on a swiveling pad. Control was effected through a learned mental process. So this isn't even Earth, this is something else. I then was totally and willingly dedicated to the purpose of the group and spent most of his life, or my life, flying such aircraft on reconnaissance or observation sweeps over a rugged landscape. There was a deep sense of friendship and love in the memory of that home in the cliff. There were also moments of much amusement when one of these missions, rocks and spears from the natives below struck the underside of the aircraft with the shock resonating up into the I body. The aircraft was near indestructible. Years ago, when I was a teenager in this present lifetime, I attempted to build such a prone position aircraft. During World War II, I tried without success to sell a prone pilot fighter designed to the aircraft industry as an answer to G-loading and other performance problems. This was before I had the slightest interest in or awareness of the extent of what I know now, or what I know now I am, and I gave no thought then as to the source of the idea. So even our inspirations could come from previous lifetimes, maybe. Even the things that we do that inspire us could come from previous lifetimes. The next one was the vibrationist. I had assumed this facet of me to have sprung from the energy system that was my origin, which I had loosely labeled as KT95. My most recent visit there to home neither confirmed nor denied that assumption. What we construe as music was indeed in full force throughout the system, although not in the creative forms that we understand. The I there inventory unveiled a personality about which I had perceived only vague shadows. Both time and location were intermittent, and the species was probably non-human. But this I then is a major but evidently frustrated part of me which is constantly attempting to replicate what was commonplace during that particular life activity. I've usually tried to express this in music. The present culture civilization lacks the knowledge and the tools to do so in another form. In that life, full and complete working application of vibration in any form is as natural as breathing is to us. It's a part of their DNA package. They have and use the ability to manipulate matter to suit whatever need through mental vibration energy. So the music they create is the utilization of non-physical energy, but not the electromagnetic field. And not only does it induce moods and emotions of every sort, but it instills or inhibits a variety of sensory patterns somewhat resembling our physical input, yet not nearly so limited. Most of this I then is beyond my I hear comprehension, but I now simply recognize the presence of such personality and let this self do and express what is possible and feasible. My major curiosity is how the I there of me ever got involved in such an unusual lifestyle. The inventory does not reveal this, or at least I could not find the answer. Another I is the seafarer. This is like, I feel we're getting too deep into Monroe, aren't we? This vivid memory was that of a first mate on sailing ships in the era of square riggers. Only the more unusual events are clear to I here. One in particular was a passage through a narrow strait, possibly Magellan, close hauled during a very severe storm. We spent many hours stationary relative to the shore, battling currents and wind. I had taken the wheel because we had drifted to within 15 feet of a boulder-littered shore. Inch by inch, we finally made it to the strait, losing 3 crewmen in the process. Although we had several lines paid out astern, none reached them. And to slack off in trying to save them would have meant disaster for the entire ship. One of those lost was my best friend. In this present life, though I was born and raised in the Midwest, the coast and the ocean drew me like a magnet. In New York, one of the first items I bought when money came in was a small sailboat. Within an hour, I was proficient in sailing it without instruction. Many adventures followed, including a single-handed all-night run 12 miles offshore during a storm. I was never afraid at sea and eventually ended up with a 42-foot catch. I always loved sailing, and I often still long for the ocean. The next I was the newcomer. This was only a flickering ray of light. When I reached out to touch it, the image of the teenage warrior from earliest times came into being, the one I had retrieved. I was not surprised but wondered if he had merged with me on the return trip. I was embarrassed at the wave of adoration emanating from him and cooled it down with a grin and a handshake. Then there is the original I, which who hell knows what that is, you know. The original I, this one I had become familiar with throughout my final visit to KT-95 and was definitely not a physical being as we understand the label. My understanding still is that I became curious about human existence while I was a, quote, tourist visiting other realities, including time and space. After one dip in the Earth life system waters, I became addicted. The repetition of life in KT-95 had become boring. But how that original I came into being was not known either to him or to me. We never gave it much thought. But now I see the light behind it, and the thought of the part of my I there brings pounding thunder. For one who had never been particularly interested in, quote, previous lives, that's kind of weird. And instantly this thought triggered noisy laughter. But from where? From whom? It was all around me and in me. There was no form I could perceive, but there was radiance in me and of me. Then within me I heard a voice. All right, young friend, now you know. Take this rope with you and come back when you have unraveled it. The shock of the voice and the laughter brought me fully phased back into the Earth life system time-space and my physical body. Wonders had been done for my different overview. All right, so I guess now, like, if you get really good at doing this, you can. I mean, I've heard some people that say that they're able to do this, right? Like they're able to get out of body or go into a state of consciousness where they can go into all their past lives and stuff. But who the hell knows? You know, don't know if that's real. You know, there's a lot of people that claim to be able to do stuff, but I guess you just got to believe them until they prove you otherwise. You know. What's up, brother?
What if, I was just thinking, what if all these past lives aren't actually your own past lives? What if they're like characters, actors, and each character plays its life out, and then when the person dies, that character resets and plays again, and all of us pass through these different characters, and they're constantly there. So you and me, say like when you pass away, somebody else starts the Joe Roop life from day one, and it's a constant reset. So everyone experiences the lives of others in a sense. Do you know what I mean?
Someone else could live my life?
Yeah, I mean that'd be a bit far out, but I was just thinking that
It would be far out.
If yeah,
I wouldn't honestly, I wouldn't wish that on most people. I really wouldn't. That's something that I think that's something we should all ask ourselves, right? Like, if that's the way it is, would you want other people to live your life?
Maybe somebody else could live it slightly different, make it a different turn in the road, a different fork in the road, you know?
Yeah. You mean make better decisions than I have? Is that what you're saying?
Better and worse. Well, I don't know, man.
Better and wiser.
It's interesting, though. Or worse, could make completely worse decisions, you know? It's just a funny concept, but I was just thinking about it.
Yeah, it just depends. I guess it could be that. Like sometimes when people talk about past lives, you always hear these people like, I was a prince, or I was a priest, or I was something in some tribe, or I was Egyptian, and it's like, well, what if consciousness isn't really individuated like that? You know? It's just like we perceive it to be that, and it really has lived all of our lives, you know?
Yeah. Could be.
Yeah, like Ain Soft saying, we're all connected to one cosmic mind, which is why so many people claim to have been the Queen of Sheba in a past life. Yeah. No one ever says, I was the guy shoveling shit back there that, got ran over by a car. Like, you don't ever hear that. It was always some magnificent story because people think so much of themselves, which you should. I think you should think a lot of yourself, but...
Well, you think about the reality is if you've lived all these lives, and some of them you've probably been a murderer, you've done savage things. I mean, you're probably better off not knowing.
I know that I've done some bad. It's either that or I'm more. I think there is. It could just be like a wave of consciousness through lives because I've done certain. Let's quote. You could call them bad things in my life, and I could tell you some of them were way more tempting than others. Almost like a familiar tempting. Where other things were like, nah, there's no way in hell I'd do that,
We like to think that as we go through our lives, we'll become more sort of spiritual and consciousness, and we'll become better people. And then in the next life, maybe you would continue along that path. But according to Monroe, there doesn't seem to be any kind of moving up a sort of aspirational spiritual ladder. It's just one minute you're this, then you're that, then you're this, then you're that. Do you know what I mean? There's no sort of reward.
He's even talking about lives like in other reality systems.
You love talk radio.
I gotta take a break. But he's even talking about that in other reality systems. We can talk about this some more. I gotta take a short station break here so we can get the licensing paid for. You're listening to Lighting the Void live on the Fringe FM, and we are on TalkStream Live at the Paranormal Radio app, and also tune in. But it's pretty fun over here on YouTube. Then we can all look at each other and mess with each other. Anyways, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
keeping out of sight, where we all grow into new flow. Sunset staring out, light leaks on the pavement, shadows blacking out, punk rock and pain, dancing like a dream, stepping on the stage, hot like castles.
This Halloween night, Fringe FM becomes Haunted Radio. Then, at 7 p.m., the curtain rises for The Sinister Symphony, a brand new horror radio drama. It's one night only, and tickets are disappearing fast. Get yours now at Eventbrite. Haunted Radio, here on Fringe FM.
I'm 54, so basically, it's too late to start saving for retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save, even in your 50s, can really make a difference.
Well, right now, saving seems hard to wrap my head around. Plus, with the way this year's been going...
Hey, listen, it's okay. You still got this. Just go to aceyourretirement.org. It's an online tool from AARP that can help you get your retirement savings on track no matter your age. It's free and only takes about 3 minutes.
I like 3 minutes.
Yeah, at aceyourretirement.org, you'll chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer a few questions and you'll get a personalized plan and tips to help boost your retirement savings. Tips that are easy to understand and tailored to your lifestyle.
I like that too.
Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Just head to aceyourretirement.org and make your plan to start saving for retirement.
Thanks.
That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by new lemon-flavored Acid Rain, the deadly pollutant with that fresh lemony smell. So the next time someone tells you to name your poison, you have a choice, lemon-flavored or regular unscented.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
This is Fringe FM, the heartbeat hiding inside the static.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Milk of Magnesia Light, bringing you the same great taste of Milk of Magnesia you've loved for years, but now with only half the calories of other leading laxatives.
Have you ever wondered, what do the stars say for me? Or, will the next month or the next year be more favorable? How about, are our two signs compatible? Each month, at the new moon, you can ask these questions live with me, your astrologer psychic, Mary DeCina, along with host of Lighting the Void, Joe Root. Join us at the new moon for Cosmic Conditions. We look forward to working with your energy.
Every new moon at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on Fringe FM.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
I think Dan Beard makes a good point. You know, like what he's saying there in the YouTube chat. If time isn't linear, then are we living those other lives now? Yeah, like outside. So, I mean, if you remember, according to Robert Monroe, outside of the physical universe, serial time isn't really a thing. So, who the hell knows, man? The idea of not being individuated is something that's hard to let go of, isn't it? The idea that we're something special outside this physical body. You hear so many people say that we're going to go back to source, or we're going to go back to whatever, but most people really don't want to lose that individuated side of themselves. And the thought of going back to source is pretty boring, especially if you're all things and everything. Like if you're alpha and omega, then you're just going to want to come back here and individuate and do it again. But I think Dan makes a pretty good point. If time isn't linear, then how the hell would we be living those other lives? Are we living them like right now, even now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, what about, how come he hasn't been able to see any future lives? Because he has talked about the future lives before. So why isn't that laid out for him?
I don't know.
You know?
He's been able to go into the future quite a few times, hasn't he? Like in the past few books and stuff. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if he visited it. He never visited like his self in the future, though, did he?
That's true. No, I don't think he did. He went to the future. Saying that, though, if time isn't linear and all these lives are supposed to be laid out, which they reckon the Akashic records are supposed to be, he should be able to look at his future lives as well. But maybe he talks about it later. I don't know.
The poll in the YouTube chat is, can you perceive that which is greater than your physical world? And only 81% of you said yes. We got 16 votes so far. So 18% of you is actually like, no, I can't perceive anything outside this physical world. God, I love that. That's why I like doing those polls. The honesty really helps us figure out where we're at, you know. But the future life, that's definitely a good question. Christy Belly agrees in the chat. So we're back live here on the Fringe FM. This is Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We're getting into Ultimate Journey with this is the third of the series of the Robert Monroe books. We're more than halfway through it, and I'm starting to think that some of us that have gone through this together, I know we will here in the production room for sure, and a lot of you in chat will probably remember this, you know, because I have read these. I told you guys I read these books every year. And I've never taken in so much information from the books that I have right now, just sharing them with you. So the purpose isn't to attract a large audience or to do any of that stuff. The purpose of doing this is to really like dive into the heart of what Monroe is doing here and let us explore it. And I think it's been working out so far. I think this is pretty cool because I don't even remember a lot of this stuff. And I know Wolf has read this book too, and do you think we're taking it in better this way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd forgotten lots of it.
Yeah, I have too, man. Totally. So this one is called Inside the Inside. So it's probably just going to get more weird, but that's what's up. That's what we're about. Ainsoft says you can only go into the future if it already exists, right? I don't know. Anyways, think about that question. Inside the inside, I did not find it easy to adjust to finding myself confronted by a part of me I didn't know existed. However, communication was absurdly simple. This was not surprising, as when you talk to yourself, there's no barrier of any kind. The word talk is not the right word. Communication was far speedier than the spoken word would allow, and to call exchange, or to even call the exchange a conversation, is extreme understatement. What follows is a compendium or abstract of many sessions with the I there of me, beginning with the second meeting. All I had to do was phase in gently, pass through the broken barrier, and I was inside, in the dome of light beams, in the heart of my I there, or I guess higher self or whatever. So I guess he's going to be talking to himself. I'll use two different voices though. Or try to. We couldn't use the term heart. It's too physical. Well, how about in the center then? We are what is meant by the total is greater than the sum of the parts. Well, then you are the total of what I have been, whatever or however that was. The focal point, the tip of the pyramid of you and more, including you as you are now. It must be rather a mess. No, not at all. We are highly organized. You know the memory layer when you moved in. I do. It's neatly set up in serial form and also by category. So are all the other existence patterns we've been through. You can look up what you want immediately. Well, that's good. Consider all that fear stuff that bothers you. That's easily taken care of. We convert it faster than you bring it in. You should recall what you were like some 35 years ago. Or look at some of the people around you. Talk about a mess. Well, I can imagine. Can you? It's easy to forget when it's not in front of you. Well, I passed through a massive emotion coming in. I must be repressing a lot of stuff I wasn't aware of. I suppose we have a system to manage that also. We currently have. There is less than there used to be, but the quality has improved tremendously. Anyways, these days, you usually let emotion control your actions only when you want to. You're doing well. Well, tell me, is there some name, some identification I can use for you? I gather you have more than one. We have whatever is needed at a given point. We're the brain trust, the think tank, the older brothers, whatever. Why don't you use one of those acronyms you're fond of? How about Board of Advisors, or BOA, or an abbreviation of Executive Committee? That's close to what we are. All right, I'll settle for that. XCOM. Fine. Look, now that you've taken the trouble to come in and clean up your act, as you might say, we can really begin to move. Come in and clean up my act? What do you mean? Well, you finally worked your way in here after all those years. There were so many times when we helped you along and you never looked back. We were sure you would come and investigate, but you didn't. So we had to use more direct methods like the physical body pain echoes and the pulls you call help signals. Did you generate those? Well, ordinarily they are items we take care of when you're busy being you, being awake and human. We decided that if you had to take care of a few of them yourself, you might become curious, and you did. Let me get this straight. You've been helping me all my life? Certainly we have. Sometimes you appreciated it, and sometimes you didn't. Well, how far back does this go? Well, before you were born. You had better tell me. I don't remember. Well, you wouldn't. You didn't exist. We made the decision to become human again. We selected the time and place and organized the DNA mix, elements from the physical and elements from us. We took those parts of us that seemed most appropriate, rolled them up into one, and sent them in. There you and we were. Well, what exactly did you send in? Personalities, memories, what else? Yes, I've tracked some of them down, but does this happen with everyone, with all humans? As far as we know, some don't have as much experience as we do or as much to choose from. Are there any with no experience at all, like any who come in pure? A lot have no previous human experience, though they have plenty of some other type, both physical and non-physical. Some work up from being animals. Well, do any come in and out? Do any come and go out with just one human lifetime? Well, we've heard so, but we haven't met one, or we couldn't identify any. But why are all these repeats and recycles, these multiple lifetimes? Well, up to now, human lives have been and are used in such a random way that it's not possible to get wide enough experience in any one life. So we keep on returning until we have what we need. Does that make sense? Well, there ought to be a better way. It doesn't seem organized or efficient. You ought to know. What do you mean, I ought to know? Remember your guided visit far into the future? As we saw it, the whole thing there was certainly organized and efficient. You go in, select the experience you want, and off you go. Well, that's a long time to have to wait. Well, you're free of time, remember? Only one more return after this, and into that life you visited up ahead, and then we're free. So my executive committee has it all mapped out? We certainly have. A committee is made up of parts, though. Which part are you? Well, I was a court jester in France in the 9th century. I was a good talker. That's why I was chosen to meet with you. It would keep down any tension that might arise in you. I don't have any tension. Well, not much. Now, let's get back to what we're discussing. Did you help me in childhood? We were in close touch in the first few years. This happens with most little ones. The influence is quite strong until parents and others bring about a gradual shutdown. Children learn not to talk about something that's unacceptable. Later, the physical contacts fade away rapidly. Was there anything more? Not much. Most of the time, we just watched you. We did keep you from drowning a couple times, and there was a time when you were very ill. You even turned up here, and we had to escort you back. That must have been when I had scarlet fever. But what about later on and other things like the $2 under that board? When I was a teenager, did you do that? Yeah, that was one of Taylor's tricks. Who's Taylor? Well, one of us or one of you who lived in another energy system. Was there anything else? Well, there was that time when you were 17 driving at night on the back road along the river. You're going too fast over the top of the hill and there was an old truck in the road. You never knew how you got round it without killing yourself, did you? I remember wondering what happened. So you did that? Not me, but one of us did. I think I'm beginning to understand. You're some sort of like my guardian angel, or that's what some people call you. Oh no, we aren't your anything. We and you are the same. You've been helping yourself all the time. We're just the part that helps you remember. You and Taylor both put the $2 under the board. You and Cass both, that time in Hawaii, made the surfboard drift into the right heading so that the fishing boat would pick you up. You and we have continually been going back and fixing things up. You want more examples? I'll be damned. No, you won't. We won't let you. This life experience you're putting together is far too valuable. What? Well, what do you mean? It leads to freedom, and it's your ride. You're in charge. We're not much more than a cabin of screaming passengers hoping we'll find it and shouting advice. Find what? Well, the way out. Escape velocity, not just eternity, but infinity. I think I see. So what am I supposed to do? Well, you are the best chance we have ever had. We shall support and help you all the way. We can't do everything, but there's a great deal we can do, encouraging you to think what you call out of body finally worked. Did you do that? You remember those dreams beforehand, how you were trying to fly an airplane off the ground, but there were always wires overhead? I do, very clearly. Those were practice sessions we had when you came here during sleep. Yes, it's beginning to come back. You were so frightened you didn't notice our pulling on you. Not then. And the rest of the help along the way, I had the impression recently that I actually did some of that, not you. Well, you can interpret it like that. You did have a little help. Remember, we're not confused to time or confined to time, nor are you as you are now. We can go back 10 years or 1,000 years. It's all the same. We're generally up to date in giving help. Then I'm no more than a surrogate of you. When you began this lifetime, yes, you were. As you grew in experience, you became a brand new personality. The mix you started with has been gradually melding into a whole. Well, this is something I shall have to get used to. I helping me. I used to think the help was all external. Tell me, is there anything you or we can't do? Well, we shall let Asha deal with that. He's a good technician. He'll communicate with you now. Asha. There was a slight change in the frequency. I am Asha. Can I help you? I was asking about the limits, what we can and cannot do. I do not know what we cannot do, but I'm aware of what we may achieve. Well, I've often wondered why I can't seem to perform certain actions that apparently others can. What actions are they? Well, seeing radiation from people, reading minds, having what we call psychic ability. All I can do is just get out of body or phase out of body. Do you wish to perform these other acts? Well, now that you ask, no, not necessarily. We did not believe those were needed, but if you do want one of us to use your body and talk while you go somewhere else, just relax and go to sleep. No, I don't want to be a channel. That's not a route to freedom, as I see it, but I wish I knew the answer to what I should be doing now. Well, we can't give you that answer. We can give you the support you need and the information, but you yourself know what to do. All of us are behind you. You don't know your own strength. Go find out. That's what you should do. If you succeed, and we're sure you will, we shall be free. This drive I have to help humankind, where does this fit in? Well, we can tell you something about that, though you may not like it. Yeah, I need to know. Service to humankind might be classified as self-serving, but in your case, because the effect spread so widely, this does not apply. The more we improve humankind, the more our prospects improve. One major improvement is equal to 100 minor ones. You mean one tall mountain is equal to a low range of hills. Except that the mountain reaches higher. So this service, this improvement, is it worth doing? Most definitely. Well, what of the bonding we identify as love? Where does this energy fit in? My friend, we have so much of this bonding built up to take us to infinity and through it. We take it with us as we go. It is the major energy base for our intellect. What you now perceive as love clarifies, not stultifies. It incorporates both pain and pleasure. It is the union of the opposites to create a whole. And you found plenty of love this lifetime, and once you dispensed with your illusions, you did. Well, there must be a tremendous amount of experience stored here in you, or in us. How many lifetimes are there? 1,000 perhaps, or more. We stopped counting long ago. Every possible situation is here, every emotion. There's nothing you can encounter in an earth life that isn't stored here, in 50 different ways. Then what am I doing, going through this all over again? To find one final piece, and you're very close, and when you have it, we lift off, we shall be gone. Gone where? How? Well, we don't know. You're going to have to tell us. I see. But are you certain you have the right one? I have an idea that there's another one, or another one being human here at this time, another one out of this I there of ours. That is so. That is your reserve or substitute, you might say, a backup, but you are first in line. Well, this other, is it a she or a female? She is. Should I arrange to meet her? Later, perhaps. She seems like a long-lost sister. So, now, let me be sure I have understood this retrieving business correctly. Well, it's nothing unusual. Many of us are working with it most of the time. So then why don't they just come back here of their own accord? Would you have done that 50 years ago? I don't know, probably not. What happens is that some become so locked up in a belief system that they never come back here, not even during sleep. We lose about 9 out of every 10 that way. They forget about us here completely. We keep helping anyway, hoping that they will eventually remember, and sometimes they do. We are there to catch them when they fall through the cracks. That's not a good success record, but not all of those I picked up were part of us, were they? And I hope not. Only 1 or 2. The others you retrieved, they disappeared when their belief systems took over, didn't they? Ah, so that's what happened. Right. Their belief system is all they have to hold on to. So they go where they think there is some kind of security. But they never forget our attempts to help them, even though it doesn't fit with what they expect. In time, a doubt arises, perhaps 10 lifetimes later, and a representative from their own I there retrieves them and brings them back where they belong. Have I ever been lost in the belief systems? Yes, you have. Why did I finally respond to your help? Well, it was a combination of things, more curiosity, less fear, no heavy indoctrination. I don't like asking this, but there's something more I need to know. How many lifetimes have we, been locked in belief systems? Who can say? A large number, certainly. What a waste. And how many times have I strayed or disappeared on the way here? Enough. It was not a waste, not at all. We gained much learning from what happened. We learned so much from those other lives that this time we believe it can be made to work. Made to work? What can be made to work? Well, the building of what you call escape velocity, so that we, or all of us, may be free. Yeah, I can see. Can I reach you again as the need arises? From this point on, we are as close as you are as to your own skin. Now, my friend, you must do what you have to do, and above all, do it in love. It is impossible to describe the sum of the love energy distilled from more than 1,000 lifetimes, which, as I've learned, each I there of each human has in store. Moreover, the discovery and working knowledge of the existence of my executive committee within the I there of me, as well as the structure of my I there, radically altered my own different overview. This discovery filled in many holes in my known file that had existed for so many years. So I'm now sure that every human has his or her own individual I there, complete with a particular self-grown executive committee. With your new different overview in place and operating, finding your own should not be nearly so difficult now that perhaps you can accept that it may exist. You need to look for your own answers, and when you have found them, put them in your personal known file. Maybe you will be able to understand why our personalities are so complex. More than this physical body, indeed. How much more? All right, that's a little trippy. That's a pretty quick chapter, though. A little too trippy, if you ask me. What if that shit's real, man? It's either it's real or he's losing his mind. It can't be one of the. It can't be in between. He's got to, you know what I mean? Well, he's got to be losing his brain, man. What do you think, Bryce? You ain't said much.
It's just, I don't know. I really don't know what to make of it because he just like seems like he's going through instruction. You know, they're putting him through instructional phases and explaining things to him.
Shit, wouldn't that be? So now, if that's real, I want to know how many damn lives I went through, man.
The thing is, right? It's so abstract, and I just keep thinking, what about all the horrific things that happens to kids, you know, abuse and sexual violence and all the rest of it? And you think, well, how has that got a place here unless this place is flawed in some way, regardless of the experience of it, you know, or the loose collecting activities? But you just think, is this place flawed? You know, or is it, you know, I don't like the whole simulation idea or the trapped souls thing, but you can kind of see why people would think that.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And it sounds like that all of his there's like, it's almost like the Matrix story, right? And Neo is the one that's going to free them all or something, you know?
Yeah, like, and in the Matrix, that Anderson says, you know, we created a perfect world, but you people couldn't handle it. You know, it was too good. The system failed.
I mean, we obviously do a lot of stupid stuff here and hurt each other all the time. We really do. You know, I mean, not all of us, but, you know, some of us do. We do a lot of stupid and what we call immoral shit all the time. So
yeah, but when you think about real heavy shit, like, you know, the destruction of an innocence of a child and,
right,
you know, destroyed through, you know, that's severe. And you just think, well, how does that exist in a world that's trying to sort of, people are trying to elevate themselves in some way? I don't know. It's like, is it a flawed? He never goes into the sort of aspects of it that are negative.
If you give people free will and you put them in a system where they can do anything, like I would imagine that, and I've actually, I forget who I talked to about this, but it makes a lot of sense. I mean, we think things are so bad, like how we are towards each other right now. But if you look in history, we've actually evolved. We're not as violent and as messed up. It's still really messed up. There's still a lot of messed up stuff, but it was way more messed up in the past. Like we did lots of crazier shit, you know. It's almost like there's an evolution taking place. But then at the same time, what if like we're like what he's talking about, and then some new being comes into this existence amongst all of the kind of like, I guess, evolved beings. There's one thing, you just got more messed up stuff, you know. I mean, I get looking at the downside of all this. I really do. Like, you have to look at it. But to me, it's just the difference between consciousness and unconscious. You know, to me, that's the same thing as like good and bad. You know, you're doing stupid shit or you're not, you know, you're starting to wake up. Like, and I also don't think Hitler or any bad people like Hitler, or I'm just using Hitler as an example, like any bad people would have even came into existence if there wasn't. I mean, the guy got in office somehow, right? How did that happen? Well, that happened through the collective and the belief systems that they believed. But then when Hitler came about, everybody wanted to point their finger at him. But the real question is would Hitler have even existed if people weren't being so shitty towards each other? You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, well, you've got a lot of sheep mentality, haven't you? So when you look at Stalin or Chairman Mao or Hitler or whatever, there's a lot of sheep that will just move and go along with the paradigm, won't they?
Yeah, so I think there's some point in some people's lives where they do start to, oh, look at that. Christy Bailey says, Bryce, we love you. Like, imagine like Fuck, I forgot what I was going to say, but I think like, well, what the hell did you just say, dude? I lost my train of thought. You said something, and then I was trying to. I lost.
Just
I'm
about
getting
the
old,
sort of
man.
the sheep mentality that people can easily be steered in a certain direction, you know.
I know what I was going to say now. So there must be some point in time, like when you start to wake up and see everything for what it is, and then somewhere along the way, you make that decision. Should I be a good person or manipulate the hell out of these people and get what I want? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some people probably do get to that place in their life.
I mean, the other thing is like people are taught morality through religion. I mean, I don't mean extreme religion, but just a little dose of religion will give you a sense of morality. Or if you've got parents that have some morality, they should instill it in you. But what if what if you grow up without any morality? I mean, that you're almost a savage, aren't you? You know?
Yeah, I would say that a good answer to that question would be in the first book, Neil Donald Walsh's book of Conversations with God. So he thinks he's talking to God, and he asks God all these questions. And the answers, I can't recall them as good as the book says, but the answers are there. But he thinks he's talking to God in that book. That book makes a lot of sense. As a matter of fact, that was one of the first books I ever read before I even started on this journey. Because I had at the time, I think I was having panic attacks left and right, like more than I ever had in my life. And I thought the world was just fucking like a terrible place, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I guess what I was trying to say with morality is some of it nature over nurture. And if it's only nurture, then, you know, there's a question there, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't know if it's only nurture for sure. For sure. Like it's definitely, there's an animal inside of all of us, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe he'll get into that. Like we'll do one more and then we'll wrap this up. So this one's called fine tuning. Fine tuning. All of that to get to this. Wait, let me look at the polls and see if we got any more votes. We actually did. We're still at like 86% of people. We got about 5 more votes, but 86% of people say they can perceive, which is greater than the physical world still. 14% said no. All right. So there is a great advantage in knowing your vehicle well, especially if you plan to travel where there may be a few service areas. My newfound knowledge of my their vehicle raised my confidence factor several levels. The extraordinary thing was that I had traveled so far without taking the trouble to find out what made it run. For some undiscoverable reason, my left brain curiosity had for once let me down. The knowledge created a profound change in my overview. There were so many potentials that I'd been unaware of, and so many responsibilities and limitations that it made me uncomfortable to dwell on them. The greatest of these responsibilities was that this I, among the many that composed my I there, was expected to deliver an important answer or solution. Although I'd been told that I knew the question and was on the track of the answer, the concept still made no sense to me. The knowledge also caused many changes. I no longer was concerned with my sleep activities, whether I remembered them or not. Now when I relaxed and drifted out of phase into sleep, my XCOM took over and we worked together. Many of our tasks involved helping through or retrieving after the physical death process. In most of these instances, we became what we were perceived to be: father, mother, departed friend, and even some heavenly being, I guess when people thought they needed a heavenly being. But those who were not part of our I there cluster slipped away and disappeared into the belief system territories. So after this, I guess he just went around helping people is what he's saying. And if people thought he was an angel, then he'd say, yep, I'm the angel. I'm Jesus. I'm your grandmother, whatever. And he would just help them into their belief systems. In these cases, we were assisting as a kind of courtesy to those for whatever reason were not met by a representative of their own I there, or who had missed the entry points to their particular belief system. I soon became accustomed to their disappearance when I had them in tow. Like the sex addict, each phased out when we encountered the radiation of a belief system with which they resonated. The major task of my I there was to pick up previous life personalities who had been overwhelmed by Earth life system addictions or various belief systems so that the essence of the personality was unreachable. When the individual human mind finally broke the grip of the belief or found a crack in the system, one of our I there members went on a retrieval mission, Time was not a factor in this, except that all such rescues, quote, rescues, took place in what we would label the past. The helping mode is another constant within the individual I there member. This involves the insertion of ideas, thoughts, even physical stimuli into the physical life of others resident in the Earth life system. I became aware how much help each of us receives that we do not perceive or that we simply accept without question. Again, such help is not limited by our concept of time. It's never forced on anyone, but is provided as a response to a cry for help, a signal which might be translated into a prayer in various belief systems. I began to participate with my I Hear consciousness in the above tasks. The learning simulations continued also, often at my request, in order to understand a given condition. Whether I actually remembered these processes that took place during, quote, sleep was irrelevant, and it mattered not how long the process took. It took some effort to accustom myself to the idea that my I there was not a sports car, but rather a bus or spaceship filled with a small universe all of its own. I came to see myself as no more than a shuttlecraft or a scout probe operator for the mothership or orbiter. In waking hours, contact with my I there is immediate. I need only think of my XCOM and indicate the performance desired. Instantly, memory echoes of similar events or situations from previous existences flash through my awareness. Some are very profound. Others are stupid enough to illustrate perfectly the infallibility of hindsight. If I need the response to be clear-cut, moving slightly out of phase is all I need to do. I still wonder how many humans are hospitalized and drugged because they hear voices, or, quote, I hear voices from their I there. It seemed to me that I had reached a very significant stage in my progress. With this knowledge of the existence of my I there and of the I there of every physical human mind consciousness, and with the immediate availability of my XCOM, a new perspective was added to what previously was considered ordinary and accepted. But if something as important as the I there structure had hitherto been ignored, what other item of major significance might have slipped through? Deciding to consult with my I there, I laid back and phased over. It is right there. There are no influences in my life other than you and my I there, right? We have not said that. Well, what are they then? One of the greatest influences is the interaction with other units. You mean humans, structured much as we are. Correct. So they do influence us, even in the non-physical cycle. You know this. There is also the total of all human thought processes that ever were, ours included. You call it the H-band noise. That can smother you if you let it. I realize that I have shielded myself from it, but there's something else. I still respond with a host of emotions of all kinds. I can't help myself. What is it? Earth life consciousness in its various forms. For instance, you are experiencing a love relationship. Another, all we have to do is think of little kittens or trees and you respond. I can't argue with that. What more? Well, even the earth itself. There are so many influences, and there are also the non-human intelligences. We've tried to steer you away from them as much as we can. Well, why? Some early encounters with some of us did not work out well. They do not regard humans in the way we thought they might. They have a sense of superiority because they have evolved in a different way. Oh, so there are no big brothers in the sky? Not in the way we humans dream that there are. The difficulty is that these intelligences have abilities in the manipulation of energy that we cannot yet conceive of, and they use them without the restraints we put on ourselves. You may ask Tallow. He's the only one working, he's the only working non-human we have with us. That's amazing. How did Tallow join us? We think it was an accident. Accidents do happen, you know. Sometimes we think of as accidents or miracles or no more than some non-human intelligence interfering, but we don't know why. I've had several out-of-body events that seem like contacts with these intelligences. That's what they were, but they lost interest when they realized you were too conscious to forget the incident. I see. Are there a lot of these intelligences? Too many in the physical universe. Trillions, perhaps. And there's the other one. The other one. the other non-human intelligence, would you believe that in all of our history, ours and yours, we have encountered only one non-human intelligence with an origin not in time-space? There are others that seem to fit the category, but they're very rare or hard to perceive. In any event, we've met only the one. Gosh, no wonder we're lonely. That may be. Now we cannot give you an answer to your next question. It lies with you. You're sure? You mean about finding our options? That is so. Well, I still don't understand why it should be me. I'm not a philosopher or even a super researcher. Yeah, I'd be that way too if it was me. I'd be like, why are you picking me to be this Neo character, man? Like, why don't you, put it on the next guy in the next lifetime? You are the best opportunity we've had. You don't know your own strength, but we do, and much can change now that you have taken this step inside. Much has changed already. Can you help me with one more thing? Can you tell me about the influences I have to watch out for or to be aware of? My pleasure, but it's only a reminder. Let me give it to you as a rote. Later, I rolled the rote I had been given, freely translated and condensed, and here it is. There's a broad field of energy, which for our convenience is called M. It is virtually unrecognized in our contemporary civilization. It's the only energy field common to and operational both within and outside time and space, and is present in varying degrees in all physical matter. Because of the tendency of M to accumulate in living organisms, life, or layered intelligence forming energy, is a useful acronym for one band of the M field spectrum. In the Earth life system, M is present in greater concentration, ranging from inert matter through microorganisms to human minds. The variance and spectrum of M radiation is extremely wide by local standards, yet it's only a small notch in the total breadth of the M field. All living organisms use M to communicate. Animals are more aware of M radiation than humans, who, with few exceptions, have no awareness of it all. Thought is a much used perturbation of M, and emotions are bands of M adjacent to thought. Love is also a band of M adjacent to thought. Thought-induced phenomena, willful or autonomic, are sideband couplings of M, and thought affects and modulates M radiation. The introduction by humans of time-space forms the communication, like speaking, writing, touching. These greatly affected the need for and the growth of M-based information systems. Nevertheless, humans are subject to constant M input from other sources, including human sources, without the conscious knowledge of either sender or receiver. The I there is composed solely of M. Quote, there being outside time-space, but within the M field. Humans are not mind active in time-space, who are phased out during sleep or unconscious or otherwise are operating in the M field with a lesser phase relationship to the physical. Except for those proficient in the process, most are fully occupied with the coping in the M field and have no more awareness of M energy systems than they had in the physical environment. Now, those who are proficient in M techniques rarely find the Earth life system applications worth the effort. There's more excitement elsewhere, apparently. Bonding affected during physical lifetimes is strictly M-field imprint. It continues between the individual I-there clusters during any mind consciousness state. Those who have moved completely out of phase with time and space, those who have died, may initially seek to retain contact with the Earth life system. Their lack of skill precludes all but the most rudimentary attempts. And after a short time, by Earth standards, this communication drops low in priority. However, the new bonding from life experience does add to the interaction between the I-there clusters. The stronger the bonding, such as love of major proportions, the closer the continuing interaction between the clusters. The influence of this M-field thought radiation induced by human minds would be overwhelming were it not for the inherent phase relationships involved. As in consciousness phasing, the entire individual system of awareness is in phase, or tuned in, with only parts of this radiation. If there's no alignment of a given frequency, there's no reception. So M-field influence continues not only in time and space, but also in the M-field resonance, temporary or permanent. Through experience, methods that prevent reception of undesirable thought radiation may be learned, often painfully. It's a matter of phasing. Shut off the aligning receptor thought form, and there's no influence. Now, this holds true both in physical and non-physical environments. Group thought, especially when it's primarily emotionally inducing, can be highly contagious, owing to the extreme amplitude of the radiation. Conversely, the organized M-field radiation of a single individual can, if broad-banded enough, be many thousand times greater than that of the group. Whatever the source, reception can influence any mind and or body that contains resonant receptors. There's an internal factor of influence to include. Emotional thoughts have the capacity to instill signals into the physical body which may be misinterpreted. These can interfere not only with the physical DNA format, but also with the I-there pattern. This interference is engendered unintentionally by the physical human mind manipulating the M-field. The results may vary from strong physical health through immunity to severe illness, as well as their remission, placebos, or miracle cures, to physical death even. Throughout human history, there have been those who have processed degrees of control of their M-field thought radiation. In some cases, this was a product of synthesis by the personality cluster selected for that particular life experience. In others, the process was developed in the individual by an accumulation of residual thought radiation and translated into a working system. By control is meant the willful selection or rejection of incoming thought radiation through manipulation of receptor phasing. The quality and amplitude of the thought radiation expressed by these individuals were directed by the human mind consciousness to serve planned purposes. The most apparent of these individual history records is political and religious leaders. The most successful have gone unnoticed owing to the deliberate lack of continuity in their activities. The latter have the means to couple other M-field bands with that of thought to produce a variety of experiences within the receptor, or to alter matter both in structure and form, and to vary time-space energy fields. Expressions of minor M-field control have abounded throughout recorded human history. They include medicine men, mind readers, witches, magicians, soothsayers, early kings and emperors, hypnotists, mediums, healers, psychokineticists, to mention only a few. Imitators without such control have been rife in every area, basically people pretending to be these other people. The power of beliefs and belief system lies in various manipulations of M-field energy. Your beliefs become knowns when you recognize or experience this manipulation. There are few ways to the means to learn this control of this M-field radiation within contemporary civilizations. This is because of the intense and near-exclusive preoccupation with time-space energies, especially those of the Earth life system. However, there is some evidence collected from all over the world of exploration in the M-field with productive results. It's likely that participants would agree that it is too little too late, and this exploration is not likely to be a factor in possible survival of human civilization in the current context. What could possibly be more basic than the energy field we use? I reflected after studying the rote. It amazed me that I had gone all these years without troubling to perceive what had been unloaded on me. It was as if one had been swimming in an ocean for years without even feeling the water. There was less curiosity in me than I had thought. The idea that every thought I may have that is tinged with emotion radiates uncontrolled outward to others is heavy with implication. It's even more uncomfortable to be the recipient of such thoughts that others may emanate. This realization would support the effort of those who make the unrealistic attempt to spread love and light in a predator world, or those who hold that we are part of a universal one. This knowledge also feels in part of our mind consciousness that is usually omitted. Most human M-field energy is not love and light. To participate openly in this energy, in phase with all of it, could be devastating. Thus, a form of shielding develops automatically as insulation. When and if leaks occur in the form of inadvertent phasing, emotional thinking, we become exposed to an incredible amount of discordant and dangerous radiation. The rote covers other areas also. Charisma, or gut feelings, instant likes and dislikes without surface justification, and especially the origin and power of belief systems that evoke emotion in large quantities, they all drop into place. Also dealt with is the increasing amount of unexplained phenomena in human action and behavior that cannot be measured by time-space measurement systems and therefore is automatically rejected by orthodox or conventional thinking. One clear example is the placebo effect, recognized time and time again, but rejected as a prime tool because it does not fit conventional standards. Perhaps this is a case of this M-field activity. What of those who apparently are well versed in M-field techniques but are very quiet about it? There are nearly 6 billion humans in physical existence in this time frame. And by interpretation of the rote, it would seem that at least 6,000, who will never be publicly known, possess what may be called incredible ability. This figure can be reduced even more, leaving us with 600 humans in physical existence at this moment who are on the loose and unrecognized and who can do covertly anything imaginable and much that we cannot imagine. I believe that I may have met one of them, but I do not know. Where are they, one wonders? What are they doing? How are they using their abilities? If they keep themselves so successfully hidden, there must be good reasons. What reasons? And why are they hanging around being human? Questions with no answers. Just for a second from the stream, like right at the end of that chapter. Like right at the end of that chapter, it went boom, disconnected from the stream. Probably just a coincidence, right?
Yeah, that was interesting. The last bit about those hidden people, so to speak, or people with these powers.
Damn, that's scary, man. Can you guys still hear me on the stream, Christy Belly? For your information, I don't watch movies. Somebody say something in the chat because I think YouTube might have dropped me. I don't know. But that's, to me, I'm like, dude, that's a scary freaking thought, man.
Yeah. Well, those people with power, and what are they like? People that can just control the material world, you know, get what they want, like a magician who's, you know.
Dude, I wonder if that whole chapter got cut off on YouTube.
Oh.
Yeah, because like I'm, you know, see, Ainsoft says that I'm here still, but if I go...
Yeah, Christy's comment popped up when you were talking. I noticed that, so it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, something's weird. Something weird's going on. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm not seeing the same things on YouTube that I'm seeing here in the software. Anyways, I'm going to have to read that chapter again. That was a lot of information, dude.
Yeah, I didn't get most of it. I kept drifting off because it was kind of like, it sounded like it was making sense, but it kind of wasn't. You know what I mean?
I have to like go through all that again, like really specifically, like each part of it. I don't think I can do it in a radio show, but I think he's making like good points where he's talking about some people do have abilities to manipulate. He's saying that this M field is in both time and space and not in time and space, both in the physical and in non-physical. Our thoughts and emotions affect this field. Sometimes we leak, sometimes we bring it in. It's almost like shit, I don't know, man. I'm going to have to read all that again, like to myself or something, and maybe come back and talk about that later, because that was I mean, I get it, but my brain, like even as I'm talking right now, my mind's still taking in what I just read, you know? What if that's real, man? If that's real, what he's talking about, then the idea of, you know, how he was talking about rituals are a stupid thing, but if that's real, what he's just talking about, then the idea of the whole idea of the elect or the magicians and people that balance the four elements inside them and all that stuff and the protection stuff, like that idea would be solidified if this M-field theory is real, you know? Yeah.
Plus, you know, anything from sigils to intentions, if you're strong enough. With our thoughts, we make the world. But the rest of it, I mean, at first I thought he was talking about the Loosh thing as well, but he didn't seem to be.
Just so anybody wants to go back through that, you can go into the Discord, and Wolf dropped this book into the file. It's in the file share, right?
Yeah, all 3 books are in the file share.
So this is the thing about the M-Field is chapter 13. Damn, that's trippy. I just got a really eerie feeling reading that, man. Maybe it was my mind doing it or something, but I almost had like a psychedelic experience while I was reading it, dude. Anyways, Bryce, Alan, you guys got anything to say? Because we're about to roll out of this sumbitch. We're about to roll on through the night.
Nah, I couldn't quite follow along except to know that I'm kind of creeped out.
Yeah, me too. I followed it. It's just I want to make sure that I got it, you know. And then maybe I'll come back tomorrow and when we'll recap. Wait, is tomorrow Friday? Yeah, tomorrow's Friday. I might do a show on Friday anyways.
Because that last chapter, it was kind of the way he writes at times. It's very convoluted. There's got to be an easier way of writing that chapter. I was kind of thinking at the time.
Well, and then, you know, he calls one field M-band noise, which I always thought M-band noise was just like the astral and everybody's mind shit, you know.
Mm.
But he's relating it to this, like M-field, you know.
Yeah.
Like he knows now that there's people in our human existence that have abilities that understand this M-field that stay hidden on purpose.
Hmm.
That's pretty trippy. That's a pretty trippy thought. And I mean, his higher self, or whatever you call it, his ex-com has kind of warned him about that stuff, you know. Was trying to warn him, you know, there's things out there that we don't really know about, so. Or it could just be Robert Monroe having a psychological bullshit breakdown and none of it's real. Anyways, at the end of the night, the question was asked, can you perceive that which is greater than the physical world? We only got 23 votes, but most of you, 87% of you, said yes. So I would like to talk to those that say they cannot, because those are probably the more honest ones. I'm not saying the ones that say yes aren't, but hell, I'd like to talk to all of you. Maybe we'll do that one night. But I'm going to spend probably the rest of the night trying to figure out what the hell actually happened in this chapter, you know, this last chapter. I'll obsess about it, dude. I know me. I'll just sit and obsess about it all freaking night and then lay in my bed and stare at the ceiling, listen to it on the audiobook, try to figure out what the hell he's talking about, and then go to sleep, try to have an out-of-body experience, and then tomorrow, you know, I'll figure out what it is and then sum it up. Because there's got to be an easier way to explain it.
Yeah.
Got to be. All right, you guys. We'll see you tomorrow night if we broadcast tomorrow. I think we will. We have been. It's pretty trippy. Just going through the Monroe stuff has inspired me to broadcast every single night, except for the weekends. Keep it live on the Fringe FM. You never know when we're going to go live. You just never know. And stay tuned on the Fringe FM coming up in a couple of weeks, the Halloween special. Also, Alex Exum should be coming back on the air live, and much more stuff coming down the road that I will not reveal until it happens. All right. Yeah, y'all. Sweet dreams. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other.
Unresolved and undefined in this echo chamber. Just like Lazarus, you know, there's an operator, some strange passenger inside. To that strange power I'm resigned like an iron anchor. I'm just a ghost in your stereo, the fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a lost song I wrote, and I'm just a ghost in your stereo.
You know what, Joe? That whole chapter, like, you're reading it, and it's making zero sense, and I'm starting to drift because it's like, I'm also trying to read it at the same time so that it goes in solid fire. It's this convoluted way he's got to put things. You know what I mean? Yeah.